Welcome, everybody, to Fergo and the Freak. This is episode 208. I'm your host, League Freak, and we're brought to you by manscaped.com. If you want to get 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com, use our exclusive code NRL. It's exclusive to our listeners only. Be the curator of your own professional development, as we found out in the last episode. So go and do that. Get 20% off. Use the code NRL. I am very happy to be joined by probably two of the highest profile rugby league fans in the world. I would say definitely in North America, but definitely in the whole world as well. I'm joined by Sher and Lil. How are you, ladies?
Hi,
Hello. Thank you for having us.
Oh, thanks for coming on. It's been a while. I've been planning to talk to you for ages, and it's weird. It's kind of bad timing in a way, but it seemed like it was the time to talk to you because you're on the ground there in Toronto, so you know what the lay of the land kind of is in this whole situation and how it's being seen locally. It's got to be a weird time for you.
Yeah, everything's kind of up in the air right now, right? So it is disheartening. It's nerve-wracking. It's all of the above.
Yeah, the last week was quite a sad week, to say the least, right? So there's a lot of fans. We're still cheering on, we're hoping that they'll come through, the team will come through. We'll get to see each other again and, enjoy the game in person again. So looking forward to hopefully being able to achieve that.
Now, and both Phil and I are remaining optimistic and positive, as we always are, that, like you said, we will be back in 2021 and, ready to go and better than ever, and everybody can enjoy this beautiful game of rugby league.
Now, how did you just get into finding the Wolfpack and supporting rugby league? And because you just both seem to really embrace it and get involved in it, how did that process happen?
I'll start. This is Cher. Both Lil and I are, we're big sports fans. So, we enjoy going to hockey games and baseball games and such. As for rugby, and I'm going to take rugby as rugby, a friend of mine went to school in Australia and came back, and she was all about the All Blacks. She was just, telling me all about them and made me watch some games online. And I was like, wow, this is quite a great game. But never seen anything live. And then all of a sudden heard about the Toronto Wolfpack coming to town in 2017 and introduced yet again to another sport, Rugby League versus Rugby Union in the All Blacks. So, the interest was piqued right away. And I thought, oh, this is going to be great. And I ended up winning season's tickets the first year on a contest on Twitter.
Oh, yeah.
Of all places. So
she's a lucky winner.
Yeah.
All the time.
I do have really good luck when it comes to that kind of thing. That's for sure.
Hang on, just let me I need the lotto numbers for this week. Can you just give me that?
You're not the first person to ask me that. So I won these tickets, and so I started to go to the games, and I'd bring somebody new with me every time, and it was a new experience for me. That first game, I felt right in love with the sport. What's not to love? It's so exciting. It's fast paced, so much action, and just the whole thing about bodies colliding and collisions right in front of you. It's just such a tough, rough game. Again, just fell in love with it right away. So one of the weeks I asked Lil if she wanted to join me, and she came, and again right away she said, okay, you're not giving the rest of those season tickets away to anybody else, they're mine. And so basically that's what happened. We just continued down that road and went to all the games and just loved it.
It was like almost immediately. And I think, same as Cher, it's just you feel that intensity of the game. We also choose to sit right in the front. So you feel that energy. We're always in the front row. We feel the plays. We could hear the players speak to each other, and basically call out the plays. We can feel almost when they're colliding. It's exhilarating. So after maybe it was just a half of the game, I looked at her and I said, no, no way you're not giving this away to anyone else. I'm back every game and, count me in. I'm your like rugby buddy. So ever since then, I think we've been, just enjoying the summer that way in Toronto. And it's been, something that we love doing together. And one day, I think over dinner, and because we were trying to also get a lot of other friends come with us because the more the merrier, right? Get more people involved, get more people to know about the sport because it's such a new sport in Toronto and Canada. So we were all talking to our own friends and family and trying to get as many out as possible. And then one day at dinner, after one of the games, we said, well, why don't we just start making videos and put it on the social media? And that's how it started.
Yeah, and I've been looking at some of your videos, and they're really interesting because you can see that you're brand new fans, but you're so enthusiastic about it, and it's cool to see you just getting so involved so quickly. And I was talking to Sandy, who's a Toronto Wolfpack fan that lives in Leeds, but she's from Canada, and she was saying how the difference one of the differences she found with rugby league compared to other sports in North America and Canada in particular was that the players are so approachable and you can just sort of kind of have conversations with them and stuff, and they don't get whisked out onto the playing field. You watch them play and then they disappear. Like, you can really have a chat with them and interact with them, and you get to know them really well.
Yeah, absolutely agree. There's no other sport like it in North America. And, our athletes are treated like gods really over here, to the extreme. And it's so refreshing. And it speaks to the culture of rugby league itself that you have these players who are willing to, after, 80 minutes of putting their body on the line, game in and game out, they come out and they take the time to walk the perimeter of the field and shake hands and take selfies and chat with the fans. And then even after that, I'm sure you've heard of our famous beer garden. Well, they come out and they again, they're socializing in the beer garden with fans and not just our own team, the other team. And I think that was a huge, an eye-opening, surprising experience from the other teams when they've been over. I mean, that's what they've told us is like, wow, because they're used to animosity from the other team's fans. But here in Toronto, everybody's embracing everyone and just chatting and the players all know each other. So, they're like fierce rivals on the pitch, but once they get off, they're good buddies and, having a beer together or whatever. But as for the fans, I mean, we support everybody who plays. So the other teams would also come out and, walk the perimeter of the field and chat with people and be surprised that people want to get pictures with them too and chat with them. The same in the beer garden afterwards. So it really is an amazing experience. And again, kudos to the players themselves because they don't have these overblown egos and they want to share their love of the game with the fans, which in turn helps the fans' love of the game grow. So it's kind of a big rugby league love fest, everybody wanting to see the game grow and kind of everybody doing their part.
Yeah, I would also say that it's almost like a family. And I've always said that. It gives me a feel of a family. The whole community comes together. The players, the fans, everyone just love the sport and come together because of that love. And we support each other. And I think players are extremely, humble and professional. And they go around, like, Sherry said, they go around the stadium after a session, sometimes as after they are injured. We've had various players come around afterwards, after they got injured, and still walk around the perimeter and say hello to everyone and make sure that, they thank and show their appreciation to the fans, especially the young ones. I love seeing the players come around and really spend the time with the little ones and encouraging them to do and to become more athletic and encouraging them to take on the sport. And we have a lot of youngsters that are part of our family that has taken that on and love the sport. And it goes without saying, these athletes have a lot to do with that.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, it's interesting because, like, you can get a young athlete in Canada that they're basically at the point of their life where they're picking what pathway they want to go down. And they can look at the landscape of international rugby league in particular and say, look, I can be an international for Canada playing this sport. I can go to World Cups, which is like hockey. I guess they've got a world championship, and basketball, they're trying to set up the World Cup, but they're still a little bit different to, say, the Rugby League World Cup, the Soccer World Cup, and things like that. And it's a real opportunity to get youngsters thinking, hey, this is a sport I can take up instead of maybe doing hockey. I think there's a lot of crossover in terms, and you two can tell me, do you think that there's a crossover culturally with hockey in a little sense, in that it is a very physical sport? It's kind of, it's still a little bit more grounded than other sports are. Like, would you say that's the case?
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. I'm not sure if you know Nate Gladden from Rugby League in America podcast, but he and I actually did a podcast together talking about how there are similarities between rugby league and hockey, and that could very well be part of the reason why that Toronto, the city of Toronto, has embraced the Toronto Wolfpack so much, is because you have the defense, you have the offense. It's like explosive, right? So there are so many similarities, and we talked about, some of the players who would be your D, like the goons kind of thing, and vice versa. Like, it is, and it's funny. I'm going to go a little bit off topic, but just the city of Toronto itself, it's such a sports city. And what's really great about the city of Toronto is that it embraces all its sports. So you're not just a soccer fan of the TFC, the Toronto Football Club. Just because those are your team doesn't mean that you can't love the Leafs, or you can't love the Blue Jays, or you can't support the Toronto Wolfpack. It really is a sports city that embraces all of the different sports. But yes, to go back to your question, definitely those similarities between the two sports.
Now, are you both Toronto Raptors fans? I mean, you have to be.
Of course. Yeah, baby.
Who isn't in Toronto these days?
Because I mean, I'm a massive basketball fan. I'm a Houston Rockets fan, and it was so cool to see you guys, like, to get Kawhi Leonard and know the whole situation in that he was a bit of a rental. He was probably going to leave after it was gone, but he was going to give you as much as he could, and he gave you everything, and it's interesting to see how that kind of lined up a little bit with the signing of Sonny Bill Williams. You knew that he was not going to be there forever because of his age, but he was this big star that was going to come to the club. It's just unfortunate what has happened this year. Like 2020, it kind of has turned out to be, if you could have said what would be the worst things that could have happened to the Wolfpack, you'd say, well, they would not be able to play in Canada. They'd have massive problems playing in England. They'd have visa issues, and the competition would shut down for 6 months. Like, it's unfortunately, it's just been terrible timing for no one's fault. And like, Lil, do you think that there's maybe a good thing in that the Toronto Wolfpack kind of are able to disappear for a year, but then return to Toronto, and instead of it being a mix and a mashup of, we're going to play X number of games, but they're all going to be overseas, do you reckon it might be better for them to say, okay, look, we're back full time in 2021? Do you think that will be better for the club?
Absolutely, actually. This year's been kind of, like you said, with COVID, it's been really unpredictable when we were going to play, what was going to happen. So if they, in 2021, when this COVID disappears, hopefully, we don't have to be concerned about that, and the club is healthy and can come back healthy, and we will have that, certainty, right? And we can have our sport that we love back. And also, I think, a lot of the people, and although I mean, having 1 year away for any team is a substantial loss. And we probably will lose a lot of fans who just got started and ramping up, especially because of Sonny B. Williams, right? Who really brought a lot of light into the sport and fame as well to the sport as they announced it last year. And we were very much hoping to see him play live in Toronto. So unfortunately, that didn't happen. Hopefully in 2021, we're able to achieve those kind of things, sustained games as well as all the players come back. Absolutely. I think if we have that consistency, we'll be able to gain that fan base back very quickly. It is a very intense game. And, of course, Sher and I will be really positively going out to promote this sport and hopefully, get more audience as well to get to know the sport and love the sport just as much as we do.
Yeah, and I really do. I feel like, especially in North America, it will be better for the club to have it all set in stone rather than being up in the air, which, I mean, I think that you can see all of the clubs that have pulled out of the championship competition that the Rugby Football League has decided to set up. It seems like a bit of a shambles to a certain degree of how the competition's been run at the moment and who's in and who's out. And I just feel as though anytime there's certainty that you can give to the Wolfpack, it's always a positive thing. Absolutely.
Yeah, especially because it is a cross-Atlantic thing, right? So for us, we don't have that consistency.
Yeah.
Toronto Wolfpack is it, the only game in town. So if it doesn't happen, you end up having that fan base that loses interest, right? So like I said, we are certain. We've done it once. The team's done a great job getting all the fans out. At the last game we had last year, we had full sellout, right? So we're not worried about that. We'll get there again.
Now, Sher, what was it like to be there from the very beginning just about and to get to that point where you're like, oh my God, we're sitting in a sold out stadium. This is crazy. Like, it must have just been absolutely incredible to see the club just grow so quickly. And the thing I noticed too was that the Toronto media really got behind the club and kind of embraced it really quickly.
Yeah, it has been really nice to watch from the beginning to now. And, that last game, that last £1 million game, that wasn't our first sellout. We sold out quite a few games in our third year there. And, we had big high hopes of this season with, our first year in Super League. We had been working hard. Like, that was the goal from day one. And, Sonny B coming over, and we have such a talented team. So it was really disappointing that we don't get to see them this year. But definitely the media has played a big role. And, more and more as we developed over the years, more of the mainstream media. Before, when it first started, it was, a little article here and there in the newspaper, but then, you'd see them on our two main sports networks, Sportsnet and TSN. And then you see them talking about them on, specific sports shows like Tim and Sid is a big one here in Toronto and Canada. So again, just seeing that, and Lil alluded to it. So we were getting coverage, but the name of Sonny B. Williams really kind of made, well, I shouldn't say that. I think us winning that £1 million game in 2019, and then the signing of Sonny B, one kind of led to the other, and to continue the growth and the exposure of the team in the game in both Toronto and Canada. But I do, again, it was there were high expectations coming into this season with Sonny B, with the team, with it being Super League. We still haven't seen a Super League game live. Which is sad, which is ridiculous and sad. I mean, it's par for the course for 2020. 2020 can just go away. But
fast forward, let's go.
Yeah, and it's really been great too, because we've noticed that, at the beginning it was kind of a novelty and fans would just come and see what it was to check it out. but then they would keep coming and they'd keep coming, and then they learned the game and they learned a little bit more about the game and they appreciated that. So, I mean, I think the fans' understanding of the game has developed a lot, and ours too. It's funny because, you know, being at our first games, we were really fortunate to actually have made a really good friend, our oldest and dearest Wolfpack friend, Dario, who would sit with us during the whole game and basically narrate what was going on. Okay, this is a penalty, this is it. Oh,
yes, he was very patient.
Great. It was so great. We learned so much from him, and then to be able, you know, we're watching it live, and then he's telling us what's going on. It was, it's great, and it's been so great for the city of Toronto, and yeah.
So, sorry, go on.
Yeah, I was going to say the players, actually, when we did the interviews with them, they would say that the first year it was nerve-wracking, right? 'Cause they come here, I take a leap of faith, right? They didn't know if anyone was going to take on the sport. So when they first started, it was nerve-wracking whether or not they're going to be able to see people out on the stands. And then they said very quickly, they saw a huge increase in numbers and really felt that they were a part of something really special. And lo and behold, like it really didn't take long to start filling up the stadium. The other thing, I mean, from a media perspective and coverage as well, I think that's really helped in the last year with us, like Sher said, winning the £1 million game, and that coverage all of a sudden increased tremendously. And then shortly after season's end, Sher and I actually did another one of our classics of going out and asking strangers if they've ever heard of the sport or ever heard of Toronto Wolfpack. We were at a Maple Leafs game, and the first time we've ever done that, which was our first interview ever, nobody knew. Well, actually, that's not true. It was one person out of like many people we interviewed that knew, right. But he had no idea what he was talking about. He just heard it from his friend. But then when we actually did the last interview there, it was every single person we asked. They knew of Toronto Wolfpack. That's the impact it's had in Toronto. All the sports.
They could say Rugby League, Super League, they're part of a UK league. Like they were spewing facts that we would normally have to give them. Yeah. They were telling us, which was pretty amazing.
That's amazing, yeah. And like that makes me wonder, because there was so much success around being in the championship, and I know that they're having that focus on we're aiming for Super League. It has been a big thing for the club, and it's a big thing for every club that's not in Super League. But do you think that there's the possibility that the club next year could come out and say, look, because we're trying to recover a little bit, and Toronto recovering from this COVID issue is different from every other club in the entire world, just about. Maybe the New Zealand Warriors have a similar thing for themselves. But do you think that it would be best for them to say, look, we're going to step back to the championship, we're going to stay in the championship for a season or two, and then we're going to aim for Super League again? Or do you think that Toronto fans need to be in Super League?
I think the club wants to be in Super League.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I really do. I think everybody, okay, I shouldn't say everybody. I think the Toronto Wolfpack organization and the Toronto Wolfpack fans all want to see Toronto remain in Super League. Like Absolutely. I said, we've been supporting them from day one. That was the goal. We're finally here. Let us play. And yeah, let us do our thing. I think it would be a step back. I think it would be a disappointment for everyone for them to go down to championship. I understand that that's the possibility. That could be part of a penalty. I think that's fair? No.
I think we need to think, from a perspective that this wasn't really a true season. Right?
No.
So there wasn't a fair chance to even be successful for Toronto Wolfpack.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, from that perspective, I believe the organization, the team, and all the fan base would want to see that we're given a fair chance in the Super League. So, on that question, and I think, Sherry alluded to that. It's like it could happen that we end up going to championship, but it'll be a huge disappointment to everybody.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I just add?
Yeah.
I just wanted to add a couple things. Yes, it's true. We hadn't won a game. We won a Challenge Cup game after that, but we hadn't won like an actual league game yet.
Mm-hmm.
However, we hadn't been home. We were playing all of the top teams. There's growing pains. You need to get through the growing pains. And that's what we were doing. We didn't have a full squad. We didn't have a full healthy squad. So, I mean, yeah, we hadn't been given the chance. And I would be afraid that we could have some player loss if we move down back into championship. And I would hate to see that, because our squad is a fantastic squad. They're a talented squad, and they all deserve to be in Super League and get their shot, and they haven't had the fair shot.
Yeah, I agree 100%. This season, I mean, the NRL kind of was lucky to get back on track, I feel, as though just in time for it to feel a little bit normal to get back to footy. But I think the entire Super League season, I mean, COVID was hanging over, I think, every sporting competition, even when Super League kicked off. And as you say, I mean, you just haven't had a Super League game in Toronto. Like, it's not a season. It hasn't really, it didn't get off the ground really for you guys. And I think it would be, I was shocked that the Super League clubs didn't offer that loan forward to the Toronto Wolfpack, because I felt as though for how much the loan was going to be for, it was just a small amount of money compared to all of the benefits that the Wolfpack bring to Super League, with that transatlantic, possibilities with sponsors, with possible TV deals down the track, and with just the general expansion, because Super League desperately needs cities involved in the game. There's a lot of small towns, but they desperately need those big markets. And I mean, Toronto is a fantastic media market. We've seen that.
Absolutely. That's where the opportunity is. And I think, I think a lot of people recognize that, but there are still groups of people that are hesitant, right? And understandably, they have a history there. There are some strongholds of that history and belief system. But at the same time, I think everybody's got to be able to see the potential that a city like Toronto could bring. And like you said, the sponsorship and the money that potentially could be involved. But I also believe that some of what, Sher and Lil stand for, which is the globalization of this sport, is huge to have that exposure in Toronto. And then, the words get out that there's this wonderful sport that they've never known, called Rugby League, and that will spread quickly, right? And with the increase of, I guess, with the addition of Ottawa and New York, potentially in 2022, that's going to be huge for the entire league. So I think it's short-sighted to say, Toronto, whether or not they succeed or not, it really doesn't matter. I think eventually it's only to the benefit of the league to have the sport widespread, widely adopted across the North America and across the globe.
I think you can see, I think by the RFL having Ottawa come in 2021, fingers crossed that all goes well, and then 2022 New York, I think that shows that they do see the potential. And have the Wolfpack made mistakes along the way? Of course they have. But I mean, when you're starting something new and you're pioneering something new and inventive and great, there are going to be things that happen, mistakes along the way. And Ottawa and New York can, happily benefit from learning from those mistakes, as the Wolfpack will. But does that mean that we just turn our backs on this huge market and what's already been built up in 4 years? Like in 4 short years, the Toronto Wolfpack are household names. Like I mean, maybe not every household, but it's getting there. And it's how we talked about from our videos. Like, we went from our first videos, no one ever hearing of Rugby League, let alone the Toronto Wolfpack. And now people know what Rugby League is. People have heard about the Toronto Wolfpack. People know what Super League is. Like, it's phenomenal. In our short little history, I think we've done so much for the sport, and, for around the world for the sport. So to just kind of shrug it off and say, okay, well, yeah, we're not going to do anything to help them, and they're not worthwhile saving and stuff like that. It's disheartening, because for the most part, though, yourself included, most people realize that I mean, expansion is the way to go. I mean, why wouldn't you want to promote your sport, the sport that you love, and have it played worldwide? And you know, it just boggles my mind sometimes.
And it's funny because it is really played worldwide. There's a lot of people playing the sport, but it's just not known, not well known.
Yeah.
And having this market in Toronto, it was getting the word out. So I think, you know, if we continue to push that forward, if we continue to promote the sport and highlight the things that are going, whether it's grassroots or, you know, at the league, like Super League or NRL, let's get the word out, because it's such a phenomenal sport with amazing people, great community, like family. And, you know, I think, like Cher said, you know, why wouldn't we want to see this more successful? So everyone should be really getting behind that.
Yeah, look, I agree. I think the Toronto Wolfpack is the most important rugby league club in the world. And I honestly believe that because, first of all, the impact that it's had in North America for rugby league is just tremendous. Like, we've never really seen anything like this before. And, I mean, to be getting crowds those crowds, that the sellout crowds would stand alongside NRL crowds and Super League crowds. And like the crowds, even when you had Super League this year, they were pretty damn good. And the TV ratings were great. And the other thing is, as you say, the global impact that the Wolfpack had. The Wolfpack was making waves over here and it was kind of one of those sexy clubs where it's like, oh, I wouldn't mind going to the Catalan Dragons, you know, playing the south of France. Oh, I wouldn't mind going to the Toronto Wolfpack. Very different experience, but, you know, there's something exciting happening there. And I really do believe that it's such an important club, and everybody, it doesn't matter, like in the NRL, you aren't playing in the NRL or anything like that, but I think the NRL should get behind the Wolfpack as well, because if we get the Wolfpack humming along in Toronto, Ottawa eventually comes in and they're looking to go a little bit more organic with things and try and make it a Canadian player base there. If we get New York in, that's going to affect every club in the rugby league playing world. And we should all get behind that, because if we all love rugby league, that's what we want to see. Like, the end goal surely is for there to be some sort of giant global competition where, you know, I'm sitting here and I'm saying, man, I wonder how Penrith's going to go at the end of the year in the World Club Challenge against the Wolfpack and how much money we're going to make out of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That would be exciting. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know, it's funny. Something popped in my head when you were talking about attendance, and I think you'll find this interesting, is we have a professional. So I know you've heard of the NFL, but we have our own little brand called the CFL here in Canada. So slight differences, but you know, football as well. But and so our team in Toronto, the Toronto Argonauts, we basically double. The Toronto Wolfpack doubles their attendance.
That's amazing.
And the Argos have been around forever, and the Wolfpack have been here for 4 years. They also play in the same season, and we get more than the Toronto Argonauts do. Yeah, and I've heard people talk about you know, other Super League teams. We haven't had the benefit of going over. Unfortunately, Lil and I were actually considering and
we're supposed to be there now, I think, right? Sure.
August, we had planned a trip. We hadn't booked it, but we were going to be there for almost 2 weeks in August. We were going to be there for the Hull KR game.
Yep.
And I think it was it Castleford? I can't remember the other team, but we were going to be there for 2 games and experience it all. And we were so excited. Right. And now we're not. But again, I was like, back to the attendance, like we've been told that, you know, the Wolfpack games here in Toronto get more attendance than some of the Super League teams do back in their own hometown over in the UK. We're also told that when the Wolfpack come to town, all the clubs see spikes in their attendance. So again, it's not just good things that the Toronto Wolfpack are doing in Toronto. It's good things that the Toronto Wolfpack are doing in the UK. Like, so we had somebody tweet us the other day, say, I live in the UK and I only got back into league because of the Toronto Wolfpack.
Wow.
So I think that's a pretty darn strong statement. And again, another knock on the Wolfpack is that we don't bring many away fans to Super League games in the UK. But the fans are going. They're getting greater and greater numbers are going over. Regular games, Magic Weekend games, whatever. Summer Bash and Championship. People are going. They're spending their money there. They're holidaying there. Instead of going to the Caribbean, they're going to the UK to watch Rugby League. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Right?
And just look at Cher and I, right? We had our plans, and I think a lot of fans, as they get to know the sport, get involved with the sport, start falling in love with the sport, more and more that traveling will happen.
Yeah.
Right?
And the thing is, too, like, there is no timeline or multiverse where you two would ever have said, let's go to Hull for a holiday for 2 weeks.
Right?
Outside of this happening, so like that needs to be taken into account. And like we were talking to Sandy the other day, and she was saying how there's a lot of people that are from Canada who love going to the games, and that does bring those away fans there. But I find it hilarious when you see, say, and I won't pick out any clubs, but you see some Super League clubs saying, well, they don't bring any away fans. And it's like, how many of you lot went to Toronto this year? How many of you lot were going over to Toronto to be an away fan? It's a really weird mindset, especially when you look at the crowds that the Wolfpack are starting to be able to get on their own 2 feet in Toronto. And I don't know, I just think it's a weird. Sometimes rugby league fans are weird. You must have picked up on that like as you've got more, as you started going up the ladders in the British game, that you just ran into some weird fans.
You're going to get that with every sport, though, right? You get your diehards that, it's my team, no other team, or, well, in terms of rugby league, you have those fans that it's a northern UK sport. We don't want it to expand, even in the south. God help us if we have a team in London, which we have a couple, but yeah, or again,
or you meet Sher and Lil.
Yeah.
Or you meet Sher and Lil, who loves all rugby league and wherever it's played.
Somebody mentioned again on Twitter the other day, someone's like, well, I thought you supported this club because I made a comment about Go Panthers because the Panthers were playing yesterday, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, and then I got a tweet from somebody, I thought you supported Manly. And I was like, and I said, well, our favorite teams are this, and this, but my teams aren't playing right now, so I want the Panthers to win this game. It's just
we cheer for good gaming. Right?
Yeah.
We
love the game, so we love the game. We appreciate the game. It's just exciting to see, the NRL. Thank goodness that the NRL restarted because it's been great, and I think again it's brought so many more fans to the game because it's been the only thing that's out there. Not that that's what you need to attract them, but as at the moment in these crazy circumstances and times that we're in, it's like that is the only live sport going on. And that, so we've been tweeting a lot about it too, hey, you're missing some sport, check out the NRL. And our one Sportsnet channel has it usually has 3 games, a Thursday night, a Friday night, and a Saturday night game on the NRL games that we can watch here. So we don't get them all, unfortunately, but again, it's on a channel, it's on TV here in Canada that people are noticing, people are watching.
And I think because of Toronto Wolfpack, that is also getting a lot more attention, right? People are turning to that because they are missing the game. So they are turning to NRL and discovering, oh, well, this is a quality of game that we love to see, right? So I think it's great. It's, there's good exposure. Otherwise, we probably wouldn't even had that pleasure to watch and take the time because we're all busy going out to our own games. Sher and I go to our game almost every week that, they're here, we're there. We're watching them. And so it's kind of hard to catch other games. So in this slow time, we do appreciate that NRL is, having those games and we're able to watch it. It's been phenomenal to follow them.
Now, it really has because we're seeing aspects of the game that we really haven't seen too much.
What
here
Tell me,
in
because
Toronto, right?
you just to getting into rugby league, right? And you're seeing the championship level football the championship level rugby league, and then you start seeing the Super League level rugby league, and then it all shuts down to a certain extent. And my guess is your focus can then turn to the NRL a bit. What is it about the NRL that you've liked? Are there things you don't like, and what jumps out at you?
Oh, I think the plays are so much more creative. Like I honestly think there's a lot more playmaking that we're seeing. At least because we haven't really seen a lot of Super League level. So I have to say that that's not a fair comparison, right? But from a championship where we were watching, our team kind of was the top of the league, so it was difficult to see a lot of other plays, right? And also the kicking. I think there's a lot
love the kicking
the
game.
kicking is just amazing. I never, I've seen a few players like Liam Kay does some of the kicking. It's just phenomenal. But most of the games we haven't seen that. And NRL is just all about, like, there's a lot of that, and that's exciting to watch. It's a different aspect that we're not used to.
Okay. Yeah, that's the part I've really enjoyed the most is the kicking game. It's wowed me, like wowed me. You know what? It is a lot. The game itself is faster. Everything just seems sharper, but that kicking game is just wow. Like, wow. That's all I can say.
And the other thing I found very interesting, not much to do with the sport itself, but more also from how big the sport really is in Australia. Is the brand that actually you can see on the jerseys. It really shows, the how big the market really is, right? And who's been supporting these sports. It shows you how big the sport really is internationally. And we didn't know that because over here, I think, some, like in Toronto, for Toronto, we've seen some consistent sponsors over the years, but it wasn't a lot of different sponsors, right? Where we were just getting into that. And I think we were getting into a lot of different commercialization of different products as well. But at the same time, we weren't used to that. So seeing it over there, like the way you would in a hockey game or, in a football game in United States, I think that's phenomenal. I didn't know that the sport was that huge, in Australia.
Yeah, and it's like it's the big money sport in Australia. So, and it's the mainstream sport, and I guess like seeing, like as you say, the different levels of sponsors that you see at the ground and things like that. And there's the thing that I think that the NRL probably has over Super League is that because they've got all their ducks in a row commercially, and they put out such a slick product. I can't remember who it was. There was somebody from North America, one of the sports journalists, who they were looking at the NRL for the first time during this COVID break, and they were like, the production of the entire thing just is so slick, and it's something that I think the NRL really is right there with, say, the NFL and the NBA in terms of the show that it puts on. You can see that it's world class.
Yeah, I agree. Yep. And both Lil and I have had a little look at Watch NRL, and through there we've kind of seen, like, you've got the Matty John show, and I think it's NRL 360. Like, there's so much out there that you can sink your teeth into in terms of rugby league and the NRL. It's fantastic, and I think you're right. That also puts you on par with the NBA, the NFL, because they too are that, and we don't. And that it's not like that in the UK. Not that I know there are some shows, but not to the extent of these other ones that the NRL provides and has for fans.
Now, what are some of the things in rugby league that have come up to both of you and you've been like, say that again? Like, I imagine the first time you were at a game and there was a penalty blown and somebody was like, oh yeah, the hooker was infringing in the ruck. You were like, what the hell did you just say to me? Like, what are some of the weird things that have when you first heard them, you're like, what is that? And then you kind of got used to it.
Well, hooker is definitely one of those.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think our last video is about that, the position itself. So, and it's fun, right? It's fun to also, it's catchy too, get people's attention. And then, yeah, like you say, you get used to it. The other thing I couldn't get used to at the beginning is the understanding of the penalties. They were just taking it at will, and I had no idea why it was happening, what penalty will be taken. And it was very confusing. We literally had to ask the players. It's like, we just don't understand because we don't have access to at least I think when we first started, there weren't that many accessible experts in Canada that could really tell us that. We did ask the players, the Wolfpack players, but also the Canadian national team players, who actually we learned quite a lot from as well, for making our videos of how to play rugby league. So, and that's a lot of things. I mean, Sher, if you want to share some of those things as well from your perspective, what did you like, or what did you find surprising when we were learning the game?
Well, yeah, the penalties, that was a little confusing. And actually, one of the things that I like that, when I'm watching the NRL games is that it's flashing on the screen what the penalty is, which is kind of nice because then you can kind of go along and go, oh, yeah, I get that. So, because you and I mean, we don't profess to know everything there is about the game. We're still learning along with everyone else. But
and especially live, right? Especially live, you don't catch that. And I think afterwards people were telling us the refs actually have hand signals, and we're like, we didn't know that. We didn't even know to look at him.
Yeah, and I guess like when you've been a rugby league fan for a certain amount of time, you kind of, when a penalty is blown in a certain situation, you kind of know what probably happened. You didn't see it yourself, but like it must have been really weird when, you'd see a player get tackled and then there'd be a penalty because one of the tackled players had their hand on the ball when the opposition was trying to play the ball, and you're like, how can they penalise them for having a hand on the ball? There was 3 dudes who just smashed him. Like, it just seems so pedantic.
Yeah, that kind of things happen a lot. And we used to also cheer, without understanding, and there's a lot of things that we learned along the way. Like, it's really not knowing the play well, not knowing the penalties, not knowing a lot of that. But over the years, I think we've learned a lot. I mean, we're no experts. We're still learning. We still love learning. And in fact, we're even thinking about getting more players and refs and people like that are, in the community right now to help with more generic, like, audience like us, fans like us, to gain more knowledge. So we're thinking of doing more of our Rugby League explained series on Sher and Lil.
Right, that's what I was going to say. Like, we did start off with our player videos explaining all of the positions, and that was fantastic. I mean, we did all of that during COVID, so we were able to get players to record for us, and then they would send us their stuff, and we'd put it together with stuff that we had either pre-recorded, because we kind of had the idea going in, but we didn't know COVID was going to happen. But we had pre-recorded a few of our intros, and then we did a couple just through Zoom. And I mean, we've had nothing but positive feedback on that, because people that follow us, they're either diehard rugby fans. We have a lot of we have a lot of followers from Australia that follow the NRL. We have a lot from the UK, but then we have a lot of Toronto-based sports fans in general who are learning the game. We have a lot of fans, again, or followers from the United States that are learning the game, and we had so much positive feedback on that. And the same with our video that Lil talked about earlier with the Canadian Men's National Rugby League team. They're so hospitable and so welcoming. They had us out to one of their practices, and I don't know if you saw that video, but they taught us how to tackle and take a tackle and kick. And, that was the first time we had ever heard the term grubber kick. And, it was really great. So we learned firsthand on how to do some things. I think we would do better if we did it again. So I think we need to do it again and show off our skills a little bit better, Lil. But I think that was a great video. And again, we gave the basics, 2 40-minute halves and blah, blah, blah. And how many points for a try, how many points for a conversion. And we did all that. But then we also we talked about the moves and so stuff like that. And, like I said, they're very welcoming. And again, Lil alluded to it earlier. The community, the rugby league community itself, it's small, but it's tight, and it is like a family. And we have the Canada Ravens, our women's national team, competing in the Rugby League World Cup in 2021, and not many people know that, and it's a shame. And so that's our job, is to get people to know that. And like we said before, rugby league isn't it's not a sport we learn in elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
And when we get to high school here in Canada, if rugby is offered, it's rugby union in high school.
Yeah.
So it is amazing that we have as many rugby league players as we do. I think it happens because of you have, your expats that are living here now from wherever, Australia or the UK. And then they pass their love along to their generations and such. I think, and you can see the passion. We've been to our grand final here in Ontario with our men's leagues, and they're out there giving it their all. So it's kind of nice to see that, Ottawa coming in, they're holding a tryout just for Canadians that want to try out. And we hope to see some of our Canadian boys out there because they are talented. We do have talent in
Absolutely.
Canada. We do.
I think it's an amazing opportunity with Ottawa coming in town, and all these players going to get an opportunity to show off what they have. We were very excited to watch their championship at the local level. Compared to, of course, the NRL, we're far away, but you got to start somewhere, right? You got to get these people in the competition. Start playing with better players. Start playing with those competitions that are better, and then that's how we learn. So I'm super excited for our young talents here. It's just an amazing opportunity. And on that point, I think in terms of the community, these guys, and I know a lot of them actually used to play rugby union. They started playing rugby league. They started playing rugby league and started falling in love with rugby league. And I know a lot of them tell other people who played rugby union, you got to try this game.
Yeah.
And, and I haven't heard one single person who said they try this game and they don't love it.
Yeah.
So it's quite amazing.
Yeah. And I've heard of lots of, there are people that have played football, like American football, that have converted over, because there are similarities. They've converted over to rugby league. And, back to the whole community thing. I think we mentioned a little bit earlier, but we have now over on all across Ontario, kids leagues, kids teams popping up. And I 100% attribute that to the Toronto Wolfpack.
Yeah. What? Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
It's a family affair. When you go to the games, it's funny because when you go to the Toronto Maple Leafs games, most of them are business people in their suits because you can't get a ticket to those
really?
games. They're passed down from generation to generation, and all the businesses have those. So really, in all the great seats, you have all the businessmen in their suits. And then high up, you have your real fans. Okay, that sounds bad, but you have the diehard fans that are there. But when you go to a Wolfpack game, you have everyone there. You have children there, you have grandparents there. It's everybody's there. And
it's general admission, right? So everybody's together. There's no segregation. Everyone's kind of sitting together, and we get used to seeing the family there, and the kids show up all the time, and we know where they sit, and we say hello.
Yeah. And then, like I said, the kids going to these games have wanted to play, but then where do they play? So again, some fans of the game that were there a couple of them started a club, and lots of these kids have gone there, and now they think they have 100 or something or more, or I don't know how many, but enrolled, and they were all so excited to be there again this year. They did it last year. They were going to be in again this year, but they haven't been able to. And Wolfpack players came out to their practices and did sessions with them. And I mean, they now have these role models that they idolize. I mean, in hockey is like number one here in Toronto and Canada. So all these kids grow up idolizing these hockey players. But now we have this new generation of kids who know what rugby league is, and they're idolizing the Toronto Wolfpack players. They want to be like them. So people talk about there's no grassroots rugby league here in Canada. And that's not true. We have our our men's our men's leagues. I shouldn't say leagues because
amateur teams.
Right. They have, we got the Toronto City Saints, the Brantford Broncos. We have them, and they have their grand finals, and they're tremendously talented. And now we have these youngins, coming through the ranks. So yes, it's not that we don't want to have homegrown talent here in Canada, but when it's not even a sport that's taught in school, how are you going to get the numbers? So not only is all the Toronto Wolfpack, bringing in fans and revenue for the city and TV money and knowledge of the sport, but it's also growing those homegrown players that will eventually be able to play. You can't just make them play tomorrow.
No.
It'll take years, right? And potentially a generation at least.
But if you pull that away, will it continue to grow?
Yeah, and look, I've always said, especially to UK supporters who they don't quite get the idea that you need a shop front to the top league in a city or an area to grow everything below that. And you need something for them to aim for. You need something that the junior teams can say, look, that's the goal for you guys. If you want to be a professional athlete, that's where you can end up. And you need that shop front there. It's not just something that is just going to magically grow for no reason at all. It's that doesn't happen anymore. And it's interesting to see. And look, I see a lot of the criticisms put towards the Wolfpack from some supporters of clubs who have been around for 120 plus years, and they'll say, well, who's the Wolfpack produced as a player? And it's like, hang on a second, who have you produced as a player in the last 50 years? Like, there's not too many from some of these Super League teams that they've really produced that are superstars. I also look at someone like you look at the Melbourne Storm. Like, a lot of their players, they buy as juniors from Queensland and New South Wales. They develop them in Melbourne. They've only had a couple of Melbourne-born and bred players that they've brought through their system. It's not hurting the Melbourne Storm. Like, it's not like it's a bad thing for the Storm. The Storm are just fine without having that like a handful of Melbourne-born and bred players in their team.
Yeah. It does seem to matter more though in rugby league, because in North America, and you look at your hockey teams and your football teams, like no one cares where they're from. Yeah. They just want a good quality club to play for their side, right? Yeah. So why does it matter? Let's try and produce as many quality rugby players from around the world. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter who they play for. Right?
Yeah. We actually met Jamaican players who would love to play in North America. I mean, in Canada or in New York, Toronto, or Ottawa, right? Like, so these are the guys that they also see the tremendous, influence Toronto Wolfpack has, right? And they want to be a part of this journey as well. So it's really globalized, and we need to really open our arms to that and get as many, like Sher said, get as many players as we can to play this game. Play this game at various levels, let them grow, let them challenge each other and get better, right? And that's how you grow the sport in the long run.
Yeah. We hosted the America's Nines in May of 2019. So we had a team USA, Canada, Latin Heat, which is a combination of a couple countries, and Jamaica. And most of those, actually all of them, right? had women's teams as well.
Yes.
So it was both men's and women's competition, and Lil and I we were so fortunate. We were on the field, we were interviewing people, we went out with all the teams afterwards, after the tournament, and it was just, that was probably, besides just seeing the camaraderie between the Wolfpack and the opposing teams, at Lamport Stadium where we play, having that opportunity was pretty neat, to be out and about with them afterwards and just seeing how it is one big happy rugby league family. Like everybody is so supportive of each other. Like, again, they're playing against each other, but they're happy to know each other. And one of the players from the States, he said it in one of our videos. It's like, here we are arm in arm. It doesn't matter that we're playing for different countries. We come together for the love of the sport, and we celebrate the sport. And that's really what that day was a celebration of rugby league, men, women from various parts of the world, of North America coming together. And it's so phenomenal. And everybody, like, again, is so supportive of each other. They want to see the sport grow. They want to see the sport flourish. So that was a really great time in our rugby league growth and knowledge as well.
Yeah, when you step into that international thing where, and I always say the thing I love about international footy is I like to see how a bunch of dudes from France play against a bunch of dudes from Papua New Guinea, where it's like it's just so different. And when you see those international competitions come together, like last year I went to the World Cup of Nines at Parramatta Stadium in Sydney, and I loved it. I went both days. I was there over the course of both days, I must have been there for nearly 24 hours. It's crazy. But then the NRL held its Nines competition in Perth at the start of this year, and it was only NRL teams. And I just didn't care that much because the special feeling you get when you see those international teams come together and you see teams from around the world play against each other. I just didn't get that same feeling from the NRL only Nines. And I think that's something that rugby league needs to embrace in terms of, like, I would love to see the Toronto Wolfpack playing in the NRL Nines. I would love to see, I think we need more of that cross-pollination across the world at club level. And I'd love to see, I've said I think the World Cup should be played every 3 years instead of 4. And in one of those years between the World Cups, I think we should have an expanded World Club Challenge in an off-season where you get to see Toronto playing against, you kind of get the top teams from each individual country, where you get, say, the Wolfpack would be playing against New York, and you'd have, say, the New Zealand Warriors there. You'd have whoever has won the NRL title there. You'd have the best team from England there, and get that cross promotion between all the competitions, get that international aspect flowing into the club level. I think it would do so much for the game.
I agree.
I couldn't agree more.
I thought there was talk of that last year, about this year in October, about a team from Australia coming over and playing Toronto and BMO Field. I remember there being some talk of that, but I do love that idea. I know that you do have somewhat of a start of that because you do have your NRL grand finalists play your winners play the Super League grand finalists.
Yeah.
Right? You do have that, which is pretty cool. I watched that last one. It's like, wow. Again, NRL is like such an amazing, it's a great competition. It's like amazing. So to watch, it's interesting to watch the top team from one versus the top team from another, but it really would be nice to see, like you said, a whole international where you have all these different ones represented.
Yeah, because at the moment, it's almost completely different universes, and we only see that crossover once. And I just think we need to do it more often because I think it would help everyone. And as I said, if Penrith were able to show their wares in North America, even in an exhibition match in a pre-season game against the Toronto Wolfpack in Toronto, that helps Toronto in terms of they see this is where the level's at that you kind of are aiming for. And it helps the Panthers in that they can say to sponsors, look, we play games in North America. We play games in Toronto. And I think that not enough rugby league supporters understand how beneficial that is for everyone. And that's why I say the Toronto Wolfpack, the most important rugby league team in the world. Now, I'll let you go in a little bit, but I first want to ask you a question. Is there something that you've seen in seen rugby league through the eyes of new supporters? Is there something that you wish would be added to the rules or to the game that you kind of are like, why don't they allow this? Why don't they allow that?
That's a good question. I do like what NRL is doing with the penalties, displaying. I wish that it's more available and live. I know with the Toronto games, we also don't have the speaker system. So the refs, when they speak, nobody really can hear except for the players themselves. I would like to have a little bit more of that, because I think because the sport is so new to Toronto and North America, it actually would help with the education of what the sport, and help people better understand the game and quickly grasp the game and then start to love the game, right? It really isn't a very complicated game itself, but it does still take time for people to get to understand.
Yeah.
Right. It does have its intricacies, right? Like it's simple enough, but there's this, there's that. So I agree. I think that would be helpful to the average fan, because your average fan isn't a rugby league expert.
And now, are you really Manly fans? Like, can I change your minds?
I like Manly, but my favorite team is Parramatta.
Oh, really? See, Parramatta's fine.
I know they're rivals too. I don't know how I know they're rivals, but like that's, and can I tell you something about everybody down in, so I'll explain why they're kind of my favorite. First of all, I think they seem like a top quality club. Mm-hmm. I like what I see from their players, but I got to tell you, two of the things that really hooked me were I think their social media team are phenomenal. Mm-hmm. They interact with people on Twitter all the time. Other teams do not. Yeah. This was one of my big selling features was, wow, here they are. They at one point they're like, oh, you're to us, you're welcome to come down anytime, blah blah blah. Welcome to the Blue and Gold Army, blah blah blah. Like so much. And then my second thing that goes along with the social media, because I think that's really important, that that your social media team, it's not just out there plunking facts and just plain old information. They need to have personality behind them. They need to have character behind them. They need to interact with the fans, because that's what's going to draw more fans in, as it drew me in. And what I also really liked, and I think all the fans, because we have lots of followers and we've made lots of friends online with fans and supporters of all the teams. But again, for me, a lot of Parramatta fans really went out of their way to, again, interact with us, socialize with us online. And I think, again, I'm a social person. I like that. And so that really attracted me as well. So not only do I think the team is a quality team, I think that it's got some pretty great players, but those other two aspects that I mentioned were really kind of the clinchers. Now, why do Manly? I'm sorry, but their social media team, nah, not so much. But their fans are great, and I love interacting with Manly fans as well. But I really do believe that clubs are missing the boat if their social media team is not online interacting with fans.
And so who do you go for, Lil? Are you a Parramatta fan as well?
No. Actually, the first game I watched was Parramatta versus, it was the Roosters against the Eels. And Roosters won that game. And of course, I didn't know at the time that Sher's going after the Parramatta team. But it was funny, though, when she said that, I was like, oh, well, it's not a bad thing, because we're always on the same team, cheering the same team. I don't mind cheering for a different team and be a little bit diverse here. So I do quite enjoy them. But I think it's also because the exposure, right? Because it's a Sydney team, so they get a lot more televised games.
Mm-hmm.
I have more access to that, and to be honest, I haven't been able to watch every team in NRL, and haven't been able to watch enough games to even really properly pick a team and fairly. But I do enjoy Sydney Roosters playing, so it's so far so good.
Okay, well, that's awesome. Look, it's just a shame that both of them are going to get their ass kicked by the Panthers this year. It's really unfortunate.
Hey, they are a really good team. I think they're a really good team. See, I don't like my one club to the exclusion of every other club. I can embrace all the goodness in all of the clubs. So I do agree. Penrith is a really strong team.
Yeah, and I think that's what Sher and Lil is about, right? Like we gotta embrace everybody and we embrace all the good playing. So I think we just enjoy a good game of rugby league.
That's
absolutely.
Awesome. That's awesome. Well, look, if I can give you one lesson, right? Because I don't like ear bash, but I'm sure you get people that try and ear bash and non-stop about trying to teach the game. But my one lesson is, right, and you've got to say this to everyone: all the wingers need to be Fijian. They should all be Fijian. You look at Mike Acevo, and they should all be Fijian.
Acevo is amazing. Oh my God, that guy.
Yeah. It's just the one solid rule I have for rugby league is that we're actually talking to one of the people that want to get an expansion club into in Brisbane, the Brisbane Bombers, and I said to him, I want to be there when you go to Fiji and just pick two random people off the street who just happen to be like massive wingers that can just run over everyone. I love Fijian wingers. So yeah, look, it's been fantastic talking to you. Let everyone know where they can find you on all of your social media. You've got your YouTube channel. Tell everyone where to find you.
All right, go ahead, Lil.
Well, so we're Sher and Lil on pretty much everything, spelled out, Sher, SHERANDLIL. We're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we are on YouTube. And we're also, I'm just trying to think, on Facebook, but we're as Facebook Sherry Lily.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. That's fantastic. Well, look, thank you both for coming on so much. You've been.
Oh, we really enjoyed it. Thank you for having us.
It was so much fun. Always fun to talk about rugby league and any chance to do so, and we love it.
Anytime you want to chat anymore, we're here.
Oh, what time is it now? Get you back on tomorrow. We'll get you back on in a couple of weeks, and we'll talk about some different issues. Maybe we'll talk about just the NRL or something, because I think the Toronto situation is going to change a little bit over the next probably couple of weeks, a month or so. There's so much new information coming out. Oh, by the way, what do you think about Sonny Bill possibly playing for the Roosters this year? And is that, do you feel a connection to him having been at the Wolfpack? Okay.
Yeah, that's right.
Immediately, yes, I do.
No, I'm just kidding. No, I do. I really, really hope that we see him back next year as part of the Toronto Wolfpack. Yeah. I really wish we had got a chance to see him play this year, although he didn't play lots, I don't think, up until this point. But we're jealous of the fans in the UK that got to see him play in a Wolfpack jersey. I know there's been lots of different talk, and there was talk that David Argyle said he would rip up Sonny B's contract and let him go, and apparently that wasn't necessary, and that Sydney is the Roosters and the NRL again are all like such a great organization. They're all doing as much as they can to kind of help and support, which is so wonderful to see. So and that's his old club, is it not? The Roosters?
Yeah. It's one of them.
So yeah. I get why he wants to go back there, and they're a phenomenal team. And I understand, all of our players, they just want to play the game that they love.
Yeah.
So I'm happy that he's going to be able to do that. I wonder what's going to happen, with the rest of our players, especially our overseas players that are also making their way back to the NRL. Are we going to see them, Macron and Thompson, Bodine and Lussick and all of them? Are we going to see them playing for another team for the remainder of the season? But are they going to be back in 2021? And I guess that's kind of the big question on everybody's mind, and not only what's going to happen with the team, but what's going to happen with the players. But I think it's fabulous. I mean, I fully support the boys going out and playing because, like I said, that's what they love. They want to go out and they want to play, and why shouldn't they be allowed to go out and play? So, fantastic. I think it's great, and I'll be supporting Sonny B even when he's with the Sydney Roosters,
you can cheer with
even
me.
though he's not on my team. Right. I'll do that, except when he's playing my team, and then it's all. But yeah.
You can still cheer. Come on.
Well, you know me. I will. I'll cheer for everybody. That's what I said. So, yeah. And so, yeah, hopefully we see more. And if any of our other boys are out there playing on any other teams, I'm going to be cheering for them as well. Because, again, it's not just about,
absolutely.
Lil and I love our team, the Wolfpack, but it's not just about the Wolfpack. It's our love of rugby league. So we're going to support the teams, the leagues, and all of the players, no matter what, because that's what we do. And we're going to keep on keeping on in that vein and promoting rugby league.
And I agree. I agree. I think the players need to do what's right for them, and they also need to continue playing the game. That's what's important. Sitting around for a full year is probably not going to be good for their own game. So they need to be out there playing and continually playing with people who, they are just as competitive against, right? So I think it's phenomenal if we can see more players playing different leagues.
Yeah, and I think the other thing too is, like, if the Toronto Wolfpack can work out a deal with the NRL in particular where it says, look, take these guys off of our books, the Toronto Wolfpack then doesn't necessarily have to pay them for this year, which helps financially the club. And then get these guys in the NRL, training, playing and stuff, get them back next year. I mean, it can only be good for the Wolfpack.
Yeah, right. Exactly. We would love to see that. Like, players just continue playing and not just sit back, right? This is not we would love to see more players just getting their game back.
Yeah, and it's going to sharpen them up for when they do return to Wolfpack and Super League. So it's win-win, right? So
yeah, it'll be great. It'll be great for Sonny Bill to say, look, I had a season in the NRL again. I feel good, physically good. It's a shame we lost the grand final to the Panthers, but never mind. It's, can't believe no one could stop the Panthers last year. Incredible team. Look, thank you both for coming on. We will get you back on. And yeah, just had a wonderful time talking to you both. And yeah, thank you for promoting the game, because as a fan of the game, it's been absolutely amazing to see how involved you have got and all of the information you've got out there for new supporters in North America. And so, yeah, thank you very much on behalf of rugby league fans that want to see the game grow.
Thank you very much. Our pleasure.
Okay, now, sorry?
Thanks for having us on again.
No worries.
Thank you. That was a lot of fun.
Thank you. Thank you to everybody listening to Fergo on a Freak, and we'll catch us next time.